When it comes to Kendrick Lamar and the entire movement surrounding the West Coast right now, things are reaching a whole new level, especially with artists like JID making it crystal clear which side of hip-hop they stand on alongside Kendrick. And if you're ready for that conversation and something even bigger, then buckle up, because fresh information may have just revealed why Kendrick Lamar's leaked track, Boom, could actually be heading toward an official release sooner than anyone expected. But before we dive deeper into this story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and show some love to the channel. And if you believe a Kendrick Lamar leak carries more weight and excitement than Drake's recent musical experiments, then go ahead and leave a like while you're already here. Now, when it comes to this leaked Kendrick Lamar record, I'm not gonna lie, something about it feels different. At first, the track was believed to be nothing more than a leftover from the GNX-era, and honestly, that seemed believable. But I think the reason we're hearing so much about it now is because it may have evolved into something far bigger behind the scenes. What makes this even more interesting is that the song has reportedly been officially claimed and removed by Interscope Records across several platforms where people uploaded it. And as more copies continue spreading online, you can clearly see that many of the original sources posting the track are now getting hit with takedowns. That tells us two very important things, and if you're unfamiliar with how leaks work in the music world, pay close attention because this matters. There's been a theory floating around that Kendrick intentionally leaked the track to test audience reactions like Drake has done before. But honestly, that explanation doesn't really hold up. Unlike artists whose planned leaks stay online because they originate from controlled sources before labels get involved, Kendrick's track is actively being removed, and that speaks volumes. The fact that the song is getting cleaned up across platforms tells us almost everything we need to know. And really, why would Kendrick even play that game in the first place? Intentional leaks have never seemed like his style to begin with. Based on everything we're seeing, and with other related records also being taken down, this appears to be a genuine leak with real significance and actual industry impact. Whether it's the conversations being sparked online or simply the fact that fans now have access to another Kendrick track outside official channels, this situation is creating major waves. But here's where things get even more interesting, because we've seen this exact pattern before. Last year, the Clips track, Chains and Whips, surfaced without Kendrick's verse, yet database systems were already linking his name to the record before anyone officially knew he was involved. So if this new leak is receiving the same level of takedowns and protections, then at minimum, it strongly suggests the track was much more than just an abandoned throwaway. At the very least, that's the safest conclusion anyone can reasonably make from all this. And now comes the part where things really start heating up. TDE's own Punch reacted to the leak by saying that leaks ruin every great idea, and his response definitely didn't sound happy. You could tell from his reaction alone that there was real frustration surrounding this record making its way online. Considering Punch has been one of Kendrick's closest creative allies since the early days and remains a major voice within TDE, his comments make this situation even more fascinating. Because if anything is clear right now, if that neither Kendrick nor anyone on his side appears to have intentionally released this song, meaning it somehow slipped through the cracks, whether it came from someone connected to the label or was leaked through more questionable motives, nobody knows for sure. And let's be honest, when it comes to the music industry, strange things happen behind closed doors all the time. But when you look at how seriously this leak is being treated, it definitely feels like the record was at least being prepared for some future release. Because otherwise, why react this strongly? Why make such a big deal out of it unless there was a much larger plan involved? And based on the timing of the leak, Punch's reaction, and the connections to TDE, I think we may finally be getting clues about that bigger picture. Personally, I don't believe this song was intended for Kendrick Lamar's next solo album or anything like that. Instead, I think Kendrick may have quietly reopened the GNX vault. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if other artists are already benefiting from material pulled from those sessions right now. In this case, there's a real possibility that this track was meant to become a lead single or album cut for J-Rock, Ray Vaughn, or whichever TDE project is coming next. Or it could even be tied to a larger Top Dog Entertainment project, especially that long-discussed TDE compilation album connected to their 20th anniversary celebrations. Technically, we've already passed that milestone, but I still think there's a very real chance we see a major label-wide effort designed to elevate the next generation of artists. At this point, TDE has signed so much talent that a project like this almost feels inevitable. It would be the perfect way to celebrate their legends while simultaneously creating new stars for the future. But based on Punch's reaction, the artists involved, and even the way this track surfaced online, I don't believe this record was sitting only in Kendrick Lamar's possession. Leaks like this usually don't happen without multiple hands being involved somewhere along the chain. Right now, all signs suggest that somebody else had access to this record as well. And what we're beginning to realize is that this may not be a PG Lang or strictly Kendrick-led release at all. It may actually belong to a larger TDE vision. That's a huge development, because I genuinely believe some of Kendrick's GNX-era throwaways are quietly being passed around to other artists behind the scenes. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing those records appear on upcoming projects much sooner than people expect. For now, this is everything we currently know about the leak. This is all the evidence available and the most reasonable conclusions we can draw from it. But what makes this entire situation feel even bigger is everything else happening across the West Coast right now. The movement being built, the alliances forming, and the energy shifting aren't stopping with this leak alone. In fact, it feels like we're only seeing the beginning of something much larger, and one of the biggest examples of that may arrive very soon, through an album Kendrick Lamar could potentially be connected to in some form, whether it's through guidance, creative input, quiet executive production, or simply mentorship. Many signs point toward his influence being present on YG's upcoming album, The Gentleman's Club. And from everything we're seeing so far, YG appears to be aiming higher than ever before with this project. This time, it feels like he's chasing something ambitious, cinematic, and far bigger than previous releases. On top of that, he just dropped a major record that may not only introduce the album, but also hint at an even bigger picture. His new track, Insecure, features none other than TDE's own Ab-Soul, and honestly, you can already see the influence of this new creative era paying off. More importantly, it shows that the West Coast ecosystem is actually working together and supporting one another in ways fans have been asking for. And as if that wasn't enough, the song also features none other
than JID. But here's where things get really interesting. Instead of simply trading bars or showing off lyrical ability, these three artists created a dark and introspective anthem centered around their deepest insecurities. It marked a major creative shift for all of them, especially seeing this level of vulnerability displayed during such a united moment. Choosing a track like this as a lead single is an incredibly bold move. And honestly, it's understandable why some listeners expected something entirely different, given the names attached to the record. When you see artists of this caliber together, you naturally expect a non-stop lyrical war. But I think they delivered exactly the song they wanted to create. I have to give them credit because taking creative risks like this is what keeps hip-hop evolving. This is the kind of artistic experimentation fans constantly ask for more of. But the reason this conversation matters goes far beyond the music itself and the quality of the song alone. Because it's impossible to ignore that this marks one of JID's first major releases since the controversy involving J. Cole started gaining attention. About a month ago, JID raised eyebrows after tweeting and deleting comments criticizing bars from Cole, leading many fans to believe there may be genuine tension between them. Those comments were reportedly aimed at Cole's line from the Birthday Blizzard project, where he suggested that if hip-hop were truly alive, JID would already be platinum. After JID called those bars weak and quickly deleted the post, it only fueled speculation that underlying issues between him and Cole had been building for some time. And many believe those frustrations extend to things like JID allegedly being left off the fall-off. Even voices close to the situation, including friends like Joey, have hinted at how unhappy JID may be with how certain events have unfolded. We've also seen enough indirect comments and public frustrations to suggest there may be more happening behind the scenes than fans realize. So when you see JID appear on a record like this in today's deeply divided hip-hop landscape, it means something. He's aligning himself with West Coast artists, working alongside longtime collaborator Ab-Soul, and strengthening relationships that have existed for years. But now you add YG's movement into the equation as well. And when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, it increasingly feels like all of this exists inside a larger creative world that Kendrick Lamar may not officially control, but certainly influences in ways most people still don't fully understand. Overall, when I look at all of this, it honestly feels like we're watching JID search for a new space in hip-hop and a new audience that can truly rally behind him. More importantly, it seems like he's looking for a circle, a label, or a creative movement that can help elevate his career and give him artists to build defining moments alongside. Because after everything JID has said about Cuddle and everything we've seen play out publicly, the picture is becoming harder to ignore. When you look at the path JID's career has taken and compare it to the opportunities that never seem to materialize under Cole, it's fair to ask some difficult questions. Whether that's missing out on a feature for the fall-off, not receiving major collaborations, or simply lacking the infrastructure needed to become a household name, there were moments where the superstar blueprint was clearly there. I mean, the opportunities were right in front of them when tracks like Surround Sound exploded, or when The Forever Story earned widespread acclaim. And from the outside looking in, it almost feels like Cole didn't simply fail to help, he chose not to maximize those moments. Because honestly, how often do you come across an artist with this level of talent? And yet somehow JID's situation is beginning to resemble the very frustrations that J. Cole himself once hinted at having with Jay-Z. And when you step back and examine everything happening right now, one thing becomes incredibly clear. JID looks like an artist who has...
Your thoughts. What do you think about everything happening around Kendrick's leaked song and the possibility of an official release? What's your take on the takedowns, Punch's reaction, and the overall mystery surrounding the track? And where do you stand on everything unfolding with JID right now? Also, what did you think about Insecure? Personally, I thought it was a fascinating direction, but I really want to hear your opinions down in the comments. And what are your thoughts on JID potentially building even stronger ties with the West Coast moving forward? It's clear JID has reached his breaking point. He's frustrated on multiple levels, and you can almost feel it through his actions and public comments. In fact, there may even be moments where he looks back and wonders whether spending so many years with Dreamville was the right move. Because he can't help but wonder what his career would have looked like under a collective like TDE, P. Lang, or another camp that viewed him as the generational talent many fans believe he is. And honestly, I think one of the biggest stories in hip-hop right now is unfolding quietly in plain sight. We're potentially witnessing a once-in-a-generation artist trying to break free from circumstances that may have limited his rise. And now, little by little, it feels like those frustrations are finally beginning to surface publicly. Even moments like these make it clear that JID may be searching for the support system needed to fully unlock his potential as a megastar. And while there are still many unanswered questions, one thing I'm extremely curious about is whether JID and Kendrick Lamar eventually cross paths in a much bigger way. Right now, JID seems increasingly connected to circles and movements that Kendrick has long influenced on the West Coast. We also know that both artists were present at the same Clips event in Los Angeles when Kendrick performed Chains and Whips last summer, which naturally raises some interesting possibilities. It definitely makes you wonder whether introductions were made behind the scenes, and perhaps JID got a chance to interact with one of the artists he has openly admired for years. JID has never hidden his respect for Kendrick, and many fans noticed that he never fully aligned himself with J. Cole during the rap battle discussions either. And with all of these moving pieces, while we still don't know the full story, I have a feeling much more is going to come to light very soon. Because if YG is assembling major collaborations like these, and Kendrick's camp is working on records that appear to be moving deeper into the creative process, then something bigger may be taking shape behind the scenes. It's becoming increasingly obvious that many of these artists are building toward a larger vision that fans haven't fully seen yet. And trust me, I don't think it'll be long before we learn much more about what that vision actually is. So get ready, because from YG, Kendrick, JID, Reason, J-Rock, Ab-Soul, and many others, the West Coast movement and its allies may only be getting started. Now, with all that being said, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. What do you think about everything happening around Kendrick's leaked song and the possibility of an official release? What's your take on the takedowns, Punch's reaction, and the overall mystery surrounding the track? And where do you stand on everything unfolding with JID right now? Also, what did you think about Insecure? Personally, I thought it was a fascinating direction, but I really want to hear your opinions down in the comments. And what are your thoughts on JID potentially building even stronger ties with the West Coast moving forward? Because honestly, it feels like this may be one of the few spaces in hip-hop that could fully embrace his talent and help him reach another level. And in a perfect fan fiction world, and trust me, don't get your hopes up too much because I know it's unlikely, I would absolutely love to see JID one day join P. Lang or even TDE.